Okay, so hello everyone. It's lovely to kind of virtually be able to say something to you, even if I can't properly see you. We've got people who are joining all the time. I've got a little number that's going up in the top right left-hand corner, so it's good to see you here. The plan for this briefing is really to take you through what's changed and how things are going to work, particularly in terms of response to the pandemic for this year. There's a couple of other bits that will come on to at the end, but that's the main purpose of what we're going to do. As I just said, there is a question and answer panel. Thank you to those people who've asked questions in advance. I will come on to those as we go through the presentation. But yeah, if anything occurs during the session, please do just stick those questions in there and I'll either pick them up as we're going along or one of the team might respond to them, or we might pick them up at the end. Okay, so let's go for this. So college opening this autumn. As I say, the main thing going to be going through is the response to the pandemic. I do want to say a little bit about the support that we've got in place. You obviously already know about that, but just to reiterate a few of the points there. Reiterate around the security measures and the barrier as well. That is important for you to remember. And then again about the best ways to communicate. So that's the plan. Overall, the big message, and you know, back to normal doesn't mean a great deal to you, our wonderful first years going into second years. But you know, in terms of the government guidance that has been issued to us, fundamentally, they're very, very keen that we get back to education as normal. So, you know, the overarching theme of everything I'm going to go through is that it's back to face-to-face teaching, back to being able to move around in your classes, work in groups, basically do all the things that great education involves. And that's what we're going to try and do for you, is give you the best possible second year that we can. So yeah, back to normal in the vast majority of things, and we'll go through the detail on that. Having said that, we do need to be conscious of the fact that infection rates do remain very high in the local area. Certainly in my own experience, I sort of know more people who are catching COVID at the moment than at any other point in the pandemic. Now that has less of a long-term impact for some, at least, because of the vaccination, because there's a lot smaller number of deaths and severe complications on the back of those infections. So it's less of a risk. But it's something we need to be aware of, and kind of the big point for us is we need to all do our bit to make sure that we don't cause further problems going forwards. Like one possible outcome, like some of us are going to catch COVID through this autumn term. That's just definitely going to happen. The problem is if we get a large outbreak at college, and then that might mean that we'd have to move to some of the control measures we had last year, like remote teaching, you know, short-term lockdowns and that sort of thing. So if we all can do our bit to look after ourselves and look after each other, then hopefully we'll avoid having too much disruption to our education, and we can really crack on with having a great year. So that's the overview. A few documents that it's worth you having a look at. So we'll make sure as part of the induction that you will get to see the updated student coronavirus information and guidance. You had one of those last year, and we'll get one of those for you. There's also a college level risk assessment, which will be on the website. An updated version will be on the website shortly, which goes through the controls that I'm going to talk to you about today. A new document is our outbreak management plan. So I've just been talking about potential outbreaks, and we'll talk there about what we might do. Nothing new. I mean, we've tried all these things out last year, but it basically what we might do and when, if there were to be an outbreak. And then, you know, it's worth you being aware that all of this is informed by the guidance that the government publishes, and that is the Further Education COVID-19 operational guidance, which was recently updated. So those are the documents you need. In terms of the key messages, they remain, you know, the fundamental messages remain the same. You know, it's an airborne virus, respiratory virus, and the best way to kind of keep safe remains the whole kind of hands, face, space message. So hands, good hygiene standards, washing your hands, using the sanitizers. We're going to keep sanitizers around the college site. That is a great start. Face coverings has changed a bit. So we're no longer going to mandate face coverings at any point when you're on the college site. That will be personal choice. You know, I'm very supportive of people who want to wear face coverings. I think you know, that they are effective both at reducing potential risk and also kind of encouraging you just to think about being a bit careful. So if you want to wear a face covering, then I thoroughly support you in doing that. The only times when we're going to recommend that you should wear a face covering is if you're on the transport system and you're around people that you don't normally mix with. So that's just a good control that you can put in place. We're not going to be enforcing that, though. That is just a recommendation for you. Space. So we've got rid of the one-way system, so that isn't going to apply. Instead, we'll have a general principle of keeping left as you're circulating around the college. That should stop kind of face-to-face contact with people, which again will reduce transmission. But there won't be any kind of directions about which doors you can or can't go through for COVID reasons. And then finally, fresh air. So this has kind of become the biggest bit of this, making sure we've got good air quality in the rooms and spaces. So it will be the case that we'll still be encouraging teachers to have their windows open. You probably should dress appropriately if it's a bit chilly, and making sure that you get good airflow. Okay. Question came up and I think it's been resolved, so that's excellent. Obviously, keeping safe, it remains the fact that the best way to stop other people catching the virus is that if people who have the virus don't mix with them. So we still would like anybody who has those key symptoms, you know, the temperatures, the cough, the loss of taste and smell, to stay at home rather than coming into college, to get a test, and then obviously if it is positive, to isolate. We will continue exactly the same as last time. If you're off, we'll do our absolute best to get you to be able to Teams into the lessons, to get access to all of the support you would normally get. But please do the isolation if you've got the virus. Catch it, bin it, kill it. Back to those sort of standard hygiene rules. Make sure that when you sneeze, you do so appropriately. And then you may have noticed that we had more cleaners around the site last year, enhanced cleaning, and we'll continue that going into this new academic year, and making sure that we're kind of wiping down those multi-touch surfaces and just trying to control any possible spread where we can. Okay, good. Working practices. So the big thing is back to full face-to-face. All right. So as we were for the most of the summer term, we're going to have all of the students. They're going to be on site. They're going to be going to their lessons. They're going to be able to have all of that kind of contact. A bit different. So classrooms can be in any setting. That'll be up to the class teacher, and that will be based by what's best for the teaching purposes, rather than them having to do contact tracing. We are planning to do a full programme of enrichment and speakers, visits, all of that stuff. And trips now will be possible. There may be some limitations, particularly around some international trips, because there's obviously still a whole load of international limitations that are in place. But in terms of areas putting on trips and trying to design trips, they will be back to trying to design as many of the trips as we were offering previously. And similarly, we'll be able to have visitors to come on site to come and speak to you. So possibly the biggest change, certainly from a kind of college's perspective, is around the response to positive cases. So if you are test positive for the virus, and I'm sure some of you will, right, that's just going to happen with the infection rates we've got at the moment, please do let us know in the normal way, COVID concerns, and then we know when you have to isolate. We'll mark you on the register so there's no issues for attendance. We'll make sure that your teaching teams, and you should make sure your teaching teams are aware so that they can continue to support you while you're isolating. Also inform NHS test and trace, and this is where the thing changes. So previously, when we had a positive case, as a college, we had to do contact tracing. That's why we needed the seating plans, and we used to ask you who have you been sat next to, and we have to kind of go through that process of working out who needed to self-isolate. That no longer is required. College isn't being asked to do that process. In the NHS test and trace will do that, and perhaps sort of most significantly, anyone who is 18 and a half or under will no longer have to self-isolate if they have proximity contact with someone who's tested positive for the virus. So that means basically all of you, or the vast majority of you, for the vast majority of the year, will not need to isolate, even if you've come into close contact with someone who's a positive case. So that is just going to completely change the situation, really, to last year. Obviously, last year we had positive cases, and then we were having to ask, 10, 20, 30, sometimes 50 students to have to isolate on the back of that. Whereas this year, positive case, that person has to stay home. Hopefully, everybody else can stay on site. The other bit that does come in here, and we'll talk more about it in a sec, is about vaccination. So the whole reason why it's 18 years and 6 months is that 6 months is to give you time to get fully vaccinated. Because if you've been fully vaccinated, and currently that means you've had 2 jabs, then you won't have to isolate either. However, if you're over 18 and a half and you're not fully vaccinated, then you will have to isolate if you're a proximity contact. So there's an incentive there to get vaccinated in terms of the way the rules are going to work. Okay, any questions on that? All happy so far. So remote learning, so thanks for those questions that people posted in advance of the session. One of the questions was about will there be any remote teaching? So no, right? I mean, fundamentally, the plan is no. We're going back to full face-to-face for this year. We really want to focus on you having that experience, getting to get that real work experience, what you thought you were going to come for. I think we did a good job last year at teaching you all of the material in the courses, but we didn't get to give you that full kind of college experience, and that's what we really want to do. So there's no planned remote teaching. If you have to isolate, as I've said, we will provide, we'll try and Teams you into lessons where that's possible. What we will be doing, though, to make sure that we're well prepared, is we will be doing a little bit of induction to make sure that everybody's got the equipment and the skills if there has to be a further lockdown kind of later in the winter, or because of local circumstances or an outbreak or whatever. All right. So obviously you were all very well prepared for that because you've been through this process last year, but we will make sure that everyone's got access to equipment and so forth. And then we're going to make a kind of final check for that on digital day, right? So Friday, the 1st of October gives us kind of 4 weeks really to make sure that everybody has got everything they need to be able to engage in remote learning. And we'll do just one day as a test for all of the college, first years and second years, where the students will stay at home. You'll do your remote teaching and make sure that it all works. All right. Hopefully we'll never have to do that again through the year, but it does mean that if we have done it, then we know we're prepared if we have to do that. And if last year taught us anything, it was good having a whole bunch of contingencies in place that we could move to. I put there in bold, this is the same commitment that I made to you last year. Whatever happens, whether it's on site, whether it's off site, we will commit to delivering every lesson as per the timetable. There'll be a live content to whatever lesson takes place and so on and so forth. All right. So that's the same commitment to you. That's absolutely what we'll deliver through this year. Hopefully we won't have to get into that. But again, that comes back to us all doing our bit to look after each other and not spread infection. Testing. So I've already sent you a message about testing. It would be very, very helpful, please, if you could all do at least 2 tests before you return to college on the 13th of August. You don't have to tell us that you've done those tests. All we need to know is if you've had a positive test. We do want you, please, though, to inform the NHS of your results in the normal way. Hopefully you've all still got testing kits. If you haven't, you can go to local pharmacists or chemists. We've got 30,000 at college, so if you need one and you can't get one locally, then you can pop in and you can pick one up from the office, and that's fine also. But we would really like you to come and get those, to do those tests before you return, because if anyone is positive, let's not get you on site and let's not get you into contact with anyone else, and make sure that that's gone past. That testing twice a week, at the moment the guidance says it's planned until the end of September. We'll see how that progresses. Obviously infection rates are still high, so I can imagine that may well go for longer than that. And as we've already said, do let COVID concerns know if you test positive. Perhaps more interestingly is around the vaccination. Now, I believe you've all been contacted directly with information about how to get a vaccine. In terms of this link, the hullccg.nhs.uk with the COVID vaccine information, there's a long list of centres where you can go now. You could go this afternoon to go and get a first jab of the vaccine. You know, the public health guidance is that it's in both your and the country's best interests to have the vaccine. I'm not telling you what to do. That's up to you. You should, you know, use your own good judgment and make a call about how you want to do it. I certainly know from my perspective that I've been double jabbed, and you know, it was absolutely fine. And I certainly have got more kind of peace of mind on the back of that than I would do otherwise. And I also like the fact that I don't have to worry about having to self-isolate if I have a proximity contact either. So that's, you know, that's the thing in the round. Up to you about what you think is best to do. There are lots of centres you can get a jab before you come back to college. We are also putting on the opportunity to get your first jab at college. So on the 15th of September, so on the first week that you come back, we will be having a full day clinic, probably in the sports hall. They can do sort of 1,400 in the day or something like that. So yeah, so if you haven't had opportunities to get a vaccine before then, you can come along and do it there. Yeah, basically we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get the vaccine if you choose that that's the appropriate thing for you to do. Okay, so I've mentioned this already, the outbreak management plan. So last year I was talking to you about the scenarios, about scenario A, B and C and how we might flip between them. So all of that kind of sits now in this management plan. So obviously we'll be monitoring the number of cases, we'll be talking to the local public health. If there is a significant outbreak, then we've got lots of things that we could do to try and control that. We could ask people to wear face coverings again. We could put in you know, enforce some things around distance around the college site. We could change the timetable like we did before. So there's a number of things that we could do. Obviously, there's also the scenarios as an option. So if things, you know, were going not as was hoped, either locally or nationally, we could go to the 50-50 delivery model, which we know worked pretty well, and we could go fully remote if we absolutely had to, which isn't what we want to do, but obviously again, you know, was effective at delivering some decent education whilst we did it last year. So we've got all of those things kind of in our pocket that we can do if we need to. Hopefully we won't have to do any of it. So that's pretty much it on the pandemic. I can see sort of questions flicking up and then getting answered. So I hope you're getting all of your questions answered sufficiently. I did want to just remind about some things about support. So the big thing for me, you know, in some respects, first years and second years are kind of starting new at college this autumn. You know, everyone in from the autumn, you know, you'll have new teachers, new classes and so forth. So the idea is that we will have really kind of good induction that goes across both your tutorial and your teaching teams to get you all kind of back in, get you mixing, give you those opportunities to meet new people that just didn't really happen in the same way last year. So that's one of the big bits I think we can do to support all of us. Clearly, we've got, you know, the specialist support teams, all of these extra kind of both electronic and face-to-face support that you can access if you need it. If you have got concerns or worries or any long-term health issues, if say long COVID is an issue for you, then please do discuss it with your tutor. We have fit to study programs. We have ways in which we can support students to be successful, even if they're having to deal with health issues, whether they're COVID related or not. I would also like to just sort of point you towards to the FICA app. So that's going to be a big thing this year, which I think you might enjoy. It's a kind of, rather than mental health support, it's like mental health training. It's like trying to really develop your resilience and positivity and that sort of stuff. So anyway, you'll hear a lot more about that. But those are some of the things we've got in there. If you do need more information about financial support and transport, hopefully you know where to go by now. But you've got the links on the page there. A reminder about the security measures. So there's a picture of the barrier system. I mean, you have seen it already, to be fair. This will be operational on your first day. When you come in on the 13th, you will need to have your lanyard and you will need to swipe to come into the college. It will be the single point of entry. So all of the other gates that you were able to use last year for the one-way system, they will all be closed during the day. At the end of the college day, the plan will be to open those gates so that people can leave in a kind of an efficient and timely way. But for the start of the day and through most of the college day, you'll need to swipe in and swipe out. The big reason for that And so we know who's on site, so we can't have people who aren't students coming on site. We can't have people who may not have the best of interests for our students or our staff at heart coming onto site and wanting to steal things or break things. So that's the whole purpose of it. But you do need to know you need to bring your lanyard to get yourself in, and you will be able to pick up your new lanyards on the first day. So good question. Just popped up there. They will be available to pick up on that first day, so make sure you pick it up then. What if there are large queues at the barriers? Well, look, we will be doing testing on this. If we need to kind of moderate it, we'll make sure that there won't be too large queues, but we have done some kind of modelling on the process, and actually with the normal flow of students into college, it should work out absolutely fine in terms of the barriers, but we will see. We certainly won't make it that people are kind of consistently late for lessons because of the barrier system. So that is that one. Communication. Teams will remain a really strong platform, even though you won't be working remotely. I very much encourage you to keep on using Teams. It's going to be that kind of primary point of contact between teachers, tutors, students, where you can send messages back and forth, which will be really useful. Again, I reiterate, please do make sure that your parent email is up to date on our system. I've found that directly emailing parents through the last year to explain what's going on has been very effective. So having their correct details is very useful indeed. So in summary, thank goodness I can say that actually it's time to get back to delivering that fantastic broad-based curriculum that we talked about and have wanted to provide to you ever since you joined us a year ago. We're really excited about that. That's our big mission for this year, and hopefully you're really excited about coming back to college and kind of getting really stuck into all of the different things that are going to make you stand out in terms of your next step. Having said that, there's that bit of caution that's got to be there, right? You've got to be careful, you've got to be sensible, don't take undue risks, do maintain good sanitation and hygiene standards. Some people will get the virus through this autumn, I'm sure of that. An outbreak is possible. If we had significant outbreaks and we weren't being sensible, that could mean that we have to interrupt that great education that we want to deliver to you. So, yeah. Just as we did last year, let's all do our bit to make sure that we keep college open, that we can have this great education that we want to do together. And so that's it really. Here is to a great and hopefully normal year. I mean, I've got to say, despite the pandemic as a college, I feel like we've still progressed on. I think we've got even more great teachers, even more great leaders who are at the college now. So I think we can have a really fantastic year. Fingers crossed it doesn't get interrupted by the virus and we can just really have an exceptional year, get some amazing outcomes at the end, have some brilliant experiences. We'll have learned a heck of a lot about ourselves and about our resilience and how we can keep going despite the challenges. And I think that will really stand us in good stead going forwards. Okay, so those are all the things I wanted to talk about. So we've got some questions coming through. If you accidentally forget your lanyard, will you be unable to get on the campus? No, you'll still be able to come to the reception and you'll be able to sign in and you'll get a day pass that will get you in. But obviously that's going to be really frustrating, much more frustrating than previously, where, let's be fair, some of you have just tried to walk in if you haven't had a pass. So timetables, do we get timetables before the first day? That was one of the questions I was going to come on to. I expect the timetables will be ready by the sort of Tuesday of the week before you return. So it's very likely that they will be up on the student portal from that point, but I won't guarantee it. I'll guarantee they'll definitely be ready for the morning of Monday the 13th when you return. So that will work. What will happen to us taking A-level? So really good question about examinations. As it stands at the moment, exactly the same message as this time last year. Examinations are planned to take place. There'll be some minor adjustments in some subjects to take account of the impacts on people being able to do things, particularly kind of practical assessments. But that's as far as it is at the moment. There is still some consultations that are ongoing about whether that needs to change. My big plea, certainly around the results time, was we need to have certainty for you students right now. So I'll be continuing to kind of campaign and tell people, anyone who'll listen, frankly, that we just need to get real certainty about exactly how assessments are going to work this year, because you need to know that. But at the moment, same as last year, plan for examinations, but also have in mind that any work you do could count as important evidence for your final grade. So everything does count, right? So it's basically the same message as we had last year. Okay, a few more questions. What happens when you go out between lessons? Well, that's fine. You just swipe out, you just swipe back in again. No worries. And what will happen on our first day back? You'll have you'll be straight into lessons. You'll have a full timetable, and you'll be going in lessons. You'll catch up with your tutor in the normal tutor time. Okay, have we got any other questions? So we talked about timetables. We've talked about the potential of kind of support for any ongoing health issues. And then parents' evening, the last question I had was about, will there be some form of parents' evening? Yes, there definitely will be parents' evening for Year 2 students. We'll be having our consultation events after Christmas in the normal way. We haven't completely decided the format, because actually the remote format last year worked pretty well. So we'll confirm with that later. And then there'll also be opportunities to have further kind of parental conversations after the Easter examinations if we need them. So yeah, there definitely will be parents' evening. But frankly, if you've got any questions as a parent, do get in touch with your with your son or daughter's tutor, and we can have a good chat about any questions you might have. Okay. So do we have any reinduction at all on the first day? Not really, not a great deal. We're going to get you back into lessons. You'll have reinduction through the tutorial system. First years are going to go back on the 9th, Thursday the 9th. So they're going to have 2 days on site to kind of get familiar with the college, because frankly, the vast majority of the first years will never have been on site before. So it's going to be pretty tough for them, as we weren't able to do any of our open events or White Start last year. So we're going to give them 2 days to get used to the site before we let you lot all back in too. Okay, any more questions? There will definitely be enough buses for everyone. I can confirm that now. They will be busy, as they always are, but there will be enough. Okay, so thank you very much for joining into the webinar. I hope you have a lovely last couple of weeks of your summer break, and then I hope you come back in September raring to go, kind of really ready to kind of grasp the opportunity of hopefully a really great year of education. Look after yourselves, and I will see you there. Bye-bye.